In the next couple of slides, we're going to go over a composite model of the tridimensional model and put it all together over the leadership model that we've done here. So we're going to talk about effective leadership behavior first. And as we know, it all centers around relationship. And in this it is the personal relationship with the member of the group, the leader-member relationships, just as it always been on the other slides that we looked at. In addition to that, we have a low relationship and a high relationship in this quadrant, as we've spoke before. Down here we have our behavior and emotional maturity. On the behavior, a person is able, has necessary skills and knowledge to perform the tasks along this continuum, and the person is willing to and has the confidence to go ahead and do that. So in the first one, in the telling area, we provide specific instructions and closely supervise the performance of the individuals. In the selling area, we look at explaining your decisions and providing opportunities for clarification, so you're mentoring them. Uh, in an effective leadership behavior, this is seen as satisfying the needs of the group. They're setting the goals and organizing work, but also provides a high level of social emotional support, as we've seen in the previous slides. And the participative area, we've seen this is where they share ideas and facilitate in making decisions, and this is where the leader and the follower actually begin to collaborate and understand the path forward. It's seen as having implicit trust in the people and as being primarily concerned with facilitating the goal of accomplishment. Now they're talking about the leader here. In the fourth quadrant, as you know, it's been delegating. And you'll see here that it says it's going to turn over the responsibility for decisions and implementation. It's seen as appropriate delegating. This is the leader that they're talking about to the subordinate decisions about how the work should be done and providing little social emotional support where little is needed by the group. Now, there's a willingness here that also has to be addressed, that as you go through these stages, you have people that have will be willing sometimes, but on occasion and often and usually, and you can see the maturation as it goes through that. Finally, we talk about structure, and structure is the degree of the path in this task that the group has been assigned to performing. And here you see an effective leader early on will be seen as having well-defined methods of accomplishing goals that are helpful to the followers. As you see here, it goes from right to left, whereas the person's ability is low. Sometimes they act on their own, they get quite a bit of responsibility, and then finally they're able to meet the needs with their abilities. So this whole slide here, excuse me, is designed to bring the person's ability and willingness along to being completely willing and able to do the task. Now, the other part that we talked about was power and authority in their positions, and you'll see that in the lower positions we use the power of persuasion. There is a connectivity going on as they move along the path. There are reward opportunities. There are certain legitimate power, meaning that they're in a position of authority. There's some referent power, information, expert. So this is kind of the diagram when you think of effective leadership. These are the key components. And keep in mind, as we begin to go to the next slide, there are four effective styles here that we talk about. How appropriate leader's behavior is given in a situation as seen by his or her followers, his or her supervisors, and his or her associates. We're going to do the same thing here now with the ineffective leadership behavior. So we'll take and remap this and we'll talk about the relationship just as we did before, and it goes from low to high. And here again, it's the personal relationship between the member of their group, the leader member relationship, and they're still performing the four basic leadership roles of telling. And in the telling area, it says we need to provide specific instructions and closely supervise the performance, just as before. In the selling area, we're going to explain our decisions and provide opportunity for clarification. It's seen, and an ineffective leader is seen as initiating more structure than is needed by the group and often appears not to be genuine in interpersonal relationships. We're going to do a participating quadrant, and here the idea is to share ideas and facilitate in decision making. But an ineffective leader will be seen as primarily interested in harmony, sometimes unwilling to accomplish a task if it risks disrupting the relationships or losing a good person image. So he's certainly not sharing ideas and facilitating decisions. As we go into the delegating area, the idea here is that they're going to turn over responsibility for the decisions and implementation, but the ineffective leader is seen as providing little structure or social emotional support when needed by the members of the group. Now, keep in mind, even though you reach this particular area where you begin to go out and disciple disciples, you still need to maintain a relationship with the people that you walk the walk with and get the strength in the numbers. Finally, there's a willingness that goes on, and you'll see as the key words that we looked at earlier will affect the person's willingness necessarily to move ahead. Now, there's also still the structure component of this, and basically what it means is that the structure is in the tasks. And the group will make a decision on whether or not the tasks have been assigned and perform the appropriate structures. They move along. They need to have a roadmap. Sometimes an ineffective leader will be seen as imposing methods on others that's sometimes seen as unpleasant and interested in only short-term output. Now, this is important because uh, the individual you're leading may not know enough about the whole process to see the beginning to the end, and if in fact the methods are extensive. And if they go into too much detail at this point in time, then it's easy to turn them off. And as the maturity goes and task behavior increases, they're going to understand a little bit more about how to perform in this environment. Finally, we're talking about power and the power and authority that their position provides position on that particular area. For instance, in telling, certainly there's persuasion, there are connective issues, there is a reward issue as you go up on selling. Uh, there is certainly a legitimate position, but now we're talking about the ineffective leaders, and I'm going to talk just a moment to see if you can have just another view of this. Uh, some of them are referent, they're looking for information, expert power, and here again, this is seen by the followers, superiors, and associates. Now, before I leave this slide, I want to let you kind of visualize that what would happen if you're in the selling area here and you go back into your methods that you use for telling. So you're telling them what to do and how to do it and all of that, and that's contrary to this particular explanation of this quadrant. And you're going to alienate people, and you're going to not meet the needs for them to move forward to the next area. If in fact you try to do a participative area in this quadrant, then they don't know enough to participate. They're not mature enough. If you use delegating in this particular area, you're going to find that they still are not mature enough and don't know where this is going to lead them. So you can see that these particular roles that you have here need to be in a particular order that is appropriate for the type of activities in the quadrant that you're working on. We're going to move on to the next stage here, and there's a couple things that we have to do before we finish up the tridimensional leadership model. And in fact, what we need to do is to look a little bit more closely at the leader of the group, in particularly on two or three different components. One is called DISC, which is a personality assessment. And this stands for people that are determined or and we'll stop there.